And now for French Connections, our weekly look at the intricacies of life in France with Florence Villemino.
Hey,
Florence, good to see you. This week we're going to focus on something very French, the holidays. Les vacances, it must be said. French people have a reputation of being on holiday all the time, don't they?
It certainly seems that way, Delano. And the truth is that compared to other countries, France is very generous when it comes to a paid time off. Employees get a minimum of 30 days annual leave, and it can be a lot more depending on the job you do. Now, the way it works is that if you're an employee, for each month you work, you acquire 2.5 days of paid holiday, and that is a lot more than neighboring countries to France and other EU countries. Let's take a look. You can see the comparison compared to other countries, and then you can see, even compared to other OECD countries, Canada there, just 10 days, and check it out, the United States of America, 0, because the US is the only industrialized country where employers are not required to provide paid time off.
Wow. Now, French people had their ancestors to thank for this generous system, paid vacation, les congés payés, which was voted into law in June 1936.
That's right. This was an initiative of the Front Populaire, which was a coalition of left-wing parties that was led by Léon Blum. Now, at the time, employees working in France were granted 2 weeks of paid time off, and this was a real victory for the working class. It was a cultural revolution, really, the democratization of vacation, free time, and tourism. Now, in the 1950s, it went up to 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks in the 1960s, and ultimately 5 weeks in the 1980s. And keep in mind that there are also 11 bank holidays in France. And so foreigners who work here sometimes...
That month of May, it's like cha-ching.
So many. So foreigners who work here often say that they almost have too much time off and they don't know what to do with themselves. I don't have that problem.
I don't have that problem. Now, July and August are months reserved for holidays. Some may say it's even sacrosanct. Parts of the country virtually shut down.
That's the case of Paris, for instance. In fact, people say that's the best time to visit Paris because all the Parisians are out of town. Now, while it makes sightseeing a lot easier, there are some downsides because a lot of things are shut. For instance, you might have to walk a long way to get a good baguette. Now, a lot of Parisians do stay in Paris for the summer, and there are all sorts of activities set up for them. For instance, there's an artificial beach set
Paris
up.
plage.
Paris plage. Lots of fun activities, Delano. I've seen you there a couple times. Now, for those across France that are lucky enough to leave, there are kind of two schools of thought, and it leads to our words du jour. There are people who leave in July. They're called les juilletistes, and there are people who leave in August. They're called les Haussiens. And depending on when you leave, it kind of says something about you. What are you, Delano?
I'm doing both.
You're doing
both?
I'm more of an Haussien.
Oh, really? Now, for French people, holiday time is a real break from work, and companies have to leave employees alone.
By law. Absolutely. And this is called the droit à la déconnexion, the right to disconnect. And it's been a part of the French labor code since 2017. So people working for companies with more than 50 employees, like we here at France 24, well, we have a right to not check our work email or our work phone when we're not working, so on the weekend or when we're on vacation. And so that means when French people go on vacation, they're really on vacation. Exactly. And so what do French people do on vacation? Well, there's an expression that comes up a lot. It's actually an Italian expression, far niente. So basically, not do anything. The French ideal vacation is basically living it up, relaxing, and enjoying all the wonderful small things in life.
Les vacances, c'est important. Si on travaille, il faut avoir des vacances. Ça fait vraiment du bien de relâcher un petit peu, quoi.
C'est parfait, le soleil, la plage, le sable, les petits sont heureux, donc tout va bien.
Généralement, c'est carpette sur la plage, château de sable, et puis on va chasser les petits crabes, voilà. Ça dépend du petit bonhomme.
Now, Flo, not all kids are so lucky. Many are forced to do summer schoolwork by their parents.
That's right. An estimated 4.5 million kids are forced to slave away.
We've all been there.
Well, there's something called a cahier de vacances. It's this thing, you can see them right here. It's basically a bunch of booklets with work exercises to keep up to speed, and each grade has its own corresponding set of booklets. It's an institution in France. It's been around since the 1930s. Though it must be said, opinions are divided on the benefits of the cahier de vacances.
C'est juste pour garder un certain éveil pendant les vacances.
C'est bien, comme ça je peux un peu réviser pendant les vacances et puis pas trop non plus.
Vous en achetez souvent, vous, des cahiers de vacances?
Tous les ans. Ça ne veut pas dire qu'ils sont faits. Hein. Ça. Comme tous les parents, je pense que c'est acheté, il y en a la moitié de fait, puis après, on passer à autre chose.
Ah, c'était horrible, ça créait des disputes dans toute la famille.
Le pire, c'est quand
C'est vrai,
quand c'était les mathématiques, c'était pas possible par contre. C'était horrible. Ça finissait en pleurs. C'était n'importe quoi.
Les vacances, c'est quand même fait pour s'amuser. Je pense que quand on est adulte, on en a plus beaucoup, donc quand on est enfant, il faut en profiter.
Now, Flo, critics say that if people are on holiday all the time, well, it's no wonder the French economy is doing badly.
That's right. And the thing is, French people are very attached to their vacation, so it's unlikely that that's going to change anytime soon. They see it somewhat as a human right here in France, a fundamental freedom that they fought really hard to gain, and so they're going to defend it tooth and nail. But what's interesting is a lot of people argue that there's actually a social utility to having a lot of time off, and that is that a well-rested worker is a productive worker. And the truth is that French productivity is surprisingly high, perhaps thanks to all our time off.
Because you come back recharged and rejuvenated.
And
it's
you work
amazing.
so much
You're like
better.
ready to go. Let's go. Thank you very much for that, Flo. Now, that's all we have time for. In the meantime, you can tweet your questions to @FloVilmino and check out our website, france24.com.